Welcome to the council study session, October 12th, 2020. We have three presentations tonight. The first one is the update of the fiscal year 2020-21 technology program. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. A couple of months ago, the council made a substantial investment in technology and cybersecurity needs in our organization. But as part of that investment, asked that we would keep you regularly updated on our progress in implementing the back end of those investments. So tonight is our first report since the council approved those investments. Back with us tonight is Chris Johnson and Jason Newkirk from our Technology Services Division. They have a presentation prepared, and I'll let them get to that. And I know they'll be happy to entertain any questions as well.
Yep. Good evening, Council. As the City Manager said, we are here to give you the first of what will be several quarterly updates on those technology improvement projects that you all approved earlier this summer. I'm not going to talk too long because I don't want to steal any of Chris's thunder. He's going to be giving you all the details on each of those four projects, but I did want to let you know that Chris and his team have done an excellent job managing and working on these projects. All four of them are either on schedule or ahead of schedule. We were actually even able to put one of those projects operational just last week, and we were seeing some good results with that particular project. So yeah, without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Chris, and once he's done speaking, if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer those.
All right, good evening. Yes, so our first project was the Arctic Wolf project, which was our security monitoring service that we outsourced. So that was completed 2 weeks ahead of schedule, Friday of last week. We spent all of last week in a transition phase from kind of onboarding the service to going operational. And just during that 1 week of time, there were over 50 security incidents investigated by this service on our behalf. Only 10 of those were actually ticketed to us for follow-up action. So that shows the real value, not only in are they actually monitoring our network and seeing suspicious activity, but they're doing a lot of that triage and the filtering so that we're not spending a lot of time on false positives, on things that don't really need further investigation. We're only looking at the things that are truly important, and that's a huge time saver and resource saver for us. So that's a really big deal. So yeah, so this project finished 2 weeks ahead of schedule. And we are currently eyes deep in this project, which is the second one, which is our checkpoint implementation, which is kind of the full spectrum of security from our perimeter right down to our endpoints, to our computers, our laptops, servers, all of those things. We are currently on schedule with this project and do expect to be finished by the end of November. We have an engineer from Checkpoint coming out tomorrow. Myself and our network engineer, Jeff Whitty, we'll be on site with him all day tomorrow, going through some of the physical implementations that we need to do, installing some hardware, some cabling, things like that, and doing initial configurations to make sure that everything is working correctly. And then after that, it's all pretty much virtual, things we can do remotely, just setting things up, testing things. And so we fully expect to finish this project on time as well. Third project is our network modernization. So that's the new network access switches that will go in each city building. This project, all of the hardware has already been received. So the procurement phase is complete. We're now moving into pre-configuration of all of that hardware. It's currently sitting with the integrator or the vendor in South Dakota. So they have all of our gear. It's sitting there. They're pre-configuring all of it based on our current network configuration, so that when they come in with the hardware, it's literally just a quick swap and play. So all they have to do is unplug the old hardware, plug in the new, and we're ready to go. So it's going to really minimize our downtime per building as we do that project as well. And we do expect this to be completed by the end of the calendar year. The fourth project is our data center project, which is really our biggest project, our heaviest lift, if you want to think of it that way. This project is going to take all of the third fiscal quarter to get completed. We will be starting kind of the physical portion of that in January, but we've already ordered the hardware. It's all being procured right now, and some of that will be pre-configured as well. The primary data center, which is moving, that's going to show up literally as 2 racks, slide it into place, cable it up, and it's ready to go. So there's not going to be a whole lot of labor with that. It's kind of coming as almost like a turnkey or off-the-shelf solution for us, so it's going to be really nice. This one we are still projecting to end by the end of April, which is on time. Are there any questions?
Any questions or comments from the council?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to our second, are you going to come back up, Jason, or are you done?
Nope, I'm done.
Okay. That brings us to our second one, the City of Independence communication update.
Yes,
City
Mr.
Manager.
Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. Additionally, another item that the council has certainly during the course of this altered work schedule format has really brought to light the need for investment in our communications platform. That has certainly been an effort even pre-pandemic that the council's asked us to focus on in ways that we can improve and enhance our communication. So we've asked our public information officer, Meg Lewis, to come tonight and give you a little bit of a flavor of the things she's been working on, the efforts to address those directives of the council. And then again, I know Meg will be happy to answer questions at the end.
Good evening. I am Meg Lewis, Public Information Officer for the City of Independence, and we want to take some time tonight to go through what the communications team does for the public, as well as how we've reacted to the change over the last 7 months today. So this is our team. There is a very small team that is doing all the communications for the City of Independence. There's myself. We have Steve Wagner, who is running the meeting right now, and you guys see coming in to set up the meeting beforehand. And then we have Zach McNulty, who is our multimedia communications coordinator and is part-time between the city manager's office and the Parks, Rec, and Tourism department. So he helps with social media graphics, video, and he's assisting Steve in the operations of some of our digital meetings. So one of the primary goals that you guys have given us through the strategic plan is to improve customer service and communication. Some of the ways that we have gone about that is the increased use of social media and digital content, the increased use of video through production and subscription, and then we have also transitioned to a digital platform for our newsletters. We are now sending out about 13,500 newsletters every month, and we use a digital platform to send our press releases both to the media and to the public. Then on March 16th, we launched the InDep Now app to allow people to start, track, and follow through on the concerns with the various departments of the city. And it's frozen. Ironically, it would happen during our presentation. So what does the communications team's work look like? This is a brief video that goes over some of the different pieces that we do on a regular basis throughout the year and day to day. So one of the things that we do are the graphics that you see before, during, and on social media. We run the City 7 channel, which is available on Comcast. This is also streamed on YouTube, and we have increased our subscribers on YouTube dramatically since we began this increased focus in 2017. In the month of August, our team spent over 100 hours on meetings and the setup and administration of those. We also do the Mayor's State of the City video every year. One of the new things that we started this year was the Manager's Job Shadow. And then we are doing informative, quick videos on things like our new app, how the city's budget process works, and what people need to know about various programs and events. We produce a wide variety of graphics for various events, programs, and then public meetings have become a big part of the communications team. In March, we began with our first YouTube press conference and have transitioned from there to include videos of encouragement, informational videos from the CDC, and ongoing efforts to educate the public on things like how to talk to kids about COVID, mental health, domestic violence, and other important subjects. If you are not a subscriber, we encourage you to do so at indep.us/YouTube, and you receive a notification every time a video is uploaded, a meeting is started, or when we add new content to that page. So who do we work with? We on a regular basis work with all of the departments in the City of Independence. There is a standalone PIO in the police department, but we do the communications for every other department in the city and work closely with John Simon, the police department, on a regular basis on videos, promotional materials, those informative sessions that we had during COVID. Police participated in 3 of the 4 of those to provide information to the public on those important topics. We are regularly working with peers in the community and the region. So we have PIOs or communications professionals in all of the cities around us, as well as in the Kansas City metro area. We are the liaison for the Brand Independence Committee. Just over a year ago, in February of 2019, we launched the new logo that you see at the bottom of the PowerPoint and on the back wall behind our council members. That is part of our brand. The brand is more than just the logo, but that is one of the most visual pieces of it, and the Brand Independence Committee helps us think about ways that we can utilize the brand for community engagement and ongoing sort of representation of what and who Independence is. And then we also have memberships in professional organizations, 3CMA, Public Relations Society of America, and Government and Social Media. Social media is a huge part of government communications right now, and we have seen continued growth on all of our platforms over the last 3 years that I have been here. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Nextdoor, Instagram, and LinkedIn. It is a time-consuming process to maintain all the content on that, but it is very important because it's one of the main places that our citizens receive and communicate information from the city. Facebook is one of the most dynamic platforms that we have. We are posting on that platform 3 to 5 times a day, generally organically, meaning that we are going in and posting it live at that time. Facebook algorithms are detrimental to doing too much programmed content, so they will not encourage the following, liking, etc. So it is beneficial to do as much of that as we can at the time. We have seen increased engagement, likes, and follows, particularly following the announcement in March. You can see the dramatic increase over the March to May period there. We saw an additional unfortunate spike associated with the loss of our firefighter at the beginning of May and the communications that we provided about his services and recognizing who he was. We are seeing increased challenges with this platform because of the analytics that are going into that. There has been significant focus at the federal level on Facebook and what it is doing. So there are increased pieces that we have to follow on how we can log in, who can log in. All of those different pieces have to be proven on a regular basis. So we have to go in and provide that we are an actual person that is running the page on a regular basis. Nextdoor is one of the newest social media platforms that we have, but one of the largest platforms that our citizens use. We have about 22,000 citizens on Nextdoor, which is approximately 29,000 of the eligible households in the community. This has seen a dramatic increase in engagement lately. We see a lot more conversations between our citizens on our posts. There is a common misconception that the city can go in and see all the conversations at the neighborhood level at Nextdoor. We cannot. So the only pieces that we can see on a regular basis are those comments that are made on our posts or those messages that are sent to the administrators of the page. Twitter is one of the best places to get news coverage. It is not overly used by our citizenry, but we do regularly get questions from citizens on water main breaks, power outage, etc. on that platform, so it's monitored on a regular basis, and we also use it to share our press releases to the media. Instagram, we have continued to see solid growth over the last 2 years that we have been on this platform. It was recently acquired by Facebook, so they have similar algorithms and have been joining some of the ways that they are used over the last few years. We have not seen the regular growth on this one that we do other places because it is so sort of niched. It is growing more in the video and with Instagram TV or IGTV, where you are doing 1 minute or longer videos. And we have seen some popular responses to videos from the mayor on some updates related to the state of emergency, as well as the vlog that we did last fall with the Pioneer Spring Cabin being moved to the National Frontier Trails Museum. YouTube has become a big part of what we do on a regular basis. Not only do we put up about 10 new videos a month, we are also doing all of our meetings and different boards and commissions on YouTube. So we have a catalog of all of the different meetings that are taking place across the city on a regular basis. This has really stretched our team to look at YouTube in new ways and how we can stream not only on YouTube but Facebook at the same time and what that means for our citizens. So it's been fun to find ways to use it for exercise playlists or sort of gathering some of the similar content in one place, but it is definitely a growing tool in our toolbox. In-Depth Now is the new app. It is available in Google and Apple stores. We are able to easily create an account, take a picture, send in information right from where you are to the department that is overseeing that. And there has been a learning curve with this. Since March, we are up to about 1,200 users with about 5,900 registered devices. We have seen 1,500 cases reported, and the average reports per day are a little over 4. We close cases in approximately a week. As you can see, code enforcement is the #1 type of request with well over 60% of the overall pie there, followed up by streets and animals. We are continuing to look at ways to explain to the public how to use this platform best. One of the common questions that we get is that they can no longer do an anonymous report. There is the ability to do a confidential submission, but we ask that people use their accounts so that we are able to follow up with that individual if there are further questions related to that case number, but it is not on the public side of the overall app. You can also get it at our website, indep.us/action center. Digital communication is one of the best ways for us to get things into people's inboxes. We utilize the platform called Emma to send out our press releases as well as our newsletters every month. I can tell you how many people opened it, I can tell you what they clicked on, I can tell you how many of them bounced, and it gives us real-time information that we can then utilize to look at future communications and what is effective, what isn't. It is one of my favorite things that we have added in the last 3 years that I've been here, and I think it is a tremendous way for us to reach our citizenry. We are continuing to perform well above industry averages, with more than 40% generally opening our various emails and click rates well over the 4% average. We utilize Meltwater to track all of our media impressions. It allows us not only to see where the City of Independence is referenced on broadcast, radio, and print, but also online, including digital newspapers, social media, and blogs. So every morning I get a report on the different queries that we have input into the system to identify what is going on with the city, where we are in the news, who's talking about what. We can follow up with that. We can share with you guys if you did an interview based on one of the different programs, what's happening, and what it looked like in that final evening news piece. It also gives us an understanding of how many people that segment reached. So for example, on that WDAF one that you see regarding the Halloween parade being canceled for this year, it reached approximately 53.5 thousand is the estimated audience for Fox 4 during the 4 o'clock news, or the new news, I apologize. So some of the success stories, one of my favorite things that we have done over the last year has been the manager's job shadows. The pride that our staff has in telling what they do to the public on a day-to-day basis is inspiring, and I look very much forward to getting back to that. Zach did a tremendous job in those segments, really talking to the individuals that we are highlighting about what they did. We are also looking at ways of doing short videos. The Fire Friday video that you see here was viewed over 18,000 times and shared hundreds of times. But all it is a quick video that's less than 30 seconds long, and it shows how the firefighters' gear adds up to where you get the final amount of 357 pounds that they are carrying in and out of a fire, depending on their various positions. My Independence Story, we did our first video version of this last spring. Unfortunately, we have had to shelf that project for right now, but we continue to look for those sort of written and verbal stories from our residents. And if you have a My Independence story that you would be willing to share with us, you can send it in at indep.us/myindependence. So a big part of my day-to-day right now is communication during the pandemic. This week I have 7 meetings related to the ongoing response and the different regional groups that we have working on this. We had to quickly change our communications and quickly respond to the communication needs of our citizenry to get the information to them as it was coming. And I can't even remember how many press releases we did in those first 2 weeks, but it seems like we were doing one every time I turned around. But there was a lot of ongoing pieces, ongoing changes associated with that. We are working with all of the different resources in the region, partnerships and platforms to keep everyone up to date. We have a tremendous support group from our ESF 6 that is looking at mass feeding, schools, just general public health, mental health, all of those different pieces that's providing us regular content and feedback on how our content can be more effective during this time. We have, as I mentioned earlier, done 4 live sessions, which was sort of a live talk show moderated event with experts in the different categories. Our first one was how to talk to children, and we utilized a behavioral specialist from the Truman Medical Center, as well as our contact at the Jackson County Health Department. Finance and resources, we worked with Community Services League and others in the region. Domestic violence, we worked with Hope House and the police department. And then mental health, we had peers from the ISD, our comprehensive mental health, and then the police department as well. So what's next? Unfortunately, pandemic and health continue to be our top priority on communications, but we are trying to not let that outweigh everything. Video is very important, and we are continuing to look at new options there. As Zach referenced, we are reviewing options for the audiovisual components in this room and hope to have some solutions in the very near future. We are in the earliest stages of looking at the website and what we can do to make that more content and user-friendly. Social media, we will continue to use on a regular basis, and we are continuing to develop our relationships with the media, and that really helps when we have different stories to know the reporters, and they know who to contact within the city for their questions. So, last thing, these are the important accounts to know. If you are not a follower or subscriber to these different platforms, we encourage that you add them to your list, as it's a good way to get information from us on a regular basis. But I am happy to take any questions or talk about anything that was just presented.
Just real briefly, and this is really more for Mr. Walker than you, Meg. So first of all, we all, I know, appreciate very much you doing this, because there's a lot of us that don't like messing with social media for sure, but on a broader basis for the city. Mr. Walker, we had discussed last week and somewhat this year, potentially upgrading communication system, at least in here, or for folks that we're doing these half virtual, half in-person meetings. Do you have any update on that at all?
Yeah, I do. So a couple of weeks ago, Meg worked with our procurement folks to put out a request for qualifications to get some information about firms that would specialize in that kind of work. And since that time, Meg has been working with these different firms that responded to do what I would call an audit of our current circumstances and technology. Additionally to that, with our CARES Act funding, we have some small amount of funding, about $53,000 left. But though that sounds small, that would address a large share of these investments that need to be made. Those dollars are eligible for that use because we are having to have more of these virtual meetings, these hybrid meetings, et cetera. So this is an unplanned expense that we didn't know we were going to need to make at this time to accommodate some of our business practice changes. So I would expect both of those items, both the amended CARES Act budget plan as well as some of the investments that Meg's been looking into, to come before the council in the very near future so that we can take advantage of that and take some steps forward.
Very good. Thank you very much.
In addition to that, we will be doing a survey with our boards and commissions to see what is working right, what is needing a little bit more help. And we are in the process of developing a help page for the website for both those participating in the meetings and those watching the meetings. We cannot do technical support for everybody out there with the different computers and different
Absolutely.
pieces, but we are trying to answer some of those most common questions to make it as easy as possible for the public to engage and watch.
We sure appreciate that. That's so important, and we, of course, none of us know for how long that's going to be important. So thank you for working on this diligently.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Council Steinmeier.
Meg, do appreciate everything you do. I know it's tough. Couple things. Do you have the ability to pull up the city website right now? I appreciate you pulling that up. I'm wondering how long this is going to be the picture on our city. when we pull up our website. You know, Independence is a great city. We have wonderful people here. We have lots of tenacious people here. I guess I'm weary 210 days into this thing of seeing that. And I would love to go back to some message of hope on our website that we are moving our city forward. I'm not being difficult. And please give me input too, right? So I don't know if you get any input on that, but I have reached kind of my end. I'd like to see something more than this thing that looks like a piece of cereal, right? I'd like to see something, a message of hope from our city.
So we can change the background image on that, or we can move to what we had before, which was a rotating sort of static image. We have utilized this space to provide easy and quick access to that important information.
Yeah.
If it is the council's direction and that of the incident command team, we can look at sort of modifying the visual representation there, and maybe rotating some of the messages at the top there.
I think we're all painfully aware we're in a pandemic. So I think at some point we change the messaging to something a little different than this. And we're not the only ones guilty of this, right? You can go to the chamber website, see the same kind of messaging. So I'd like for us to kind of take a lead in it and start looking at a different message when we pull up our website. And then just a couple questions on like the Independence Now stats. When the citizens report an issue, where does it go? And do you have a way of tracking it in terms of when they receive it, when they open it up? And do we have any data on how long that before the code investigation begins, when it closes?
So I think that there is enough to do an entire session on just in-depth now and
Yeah.
the various pieces of it. But we utilize the CityWorks platform for the different departments. So a CityWorks ticket is developed for the different individuals that have been assigned to the various sort of key phrases associated with in-depth now. And then it's streamed through the process there. Our citizens get an update as it is going through that process, as well as when the ticket is finally closed.
So you have a way of tracking that?
We have that in the background, yes, sir.
Is that something that you can enlighten us with at some point, or share that in a department to get a department head to come share those things with us?
Yes, we can work on having that.
Okay, I
separate
appreciate that.
display.
Now, and then when it talked about citizens encouraged to register on the one platform, and I didn't see it in time to write it down.
So that is for Independence Now. You do need to have an account, so you
Okay.
insert your email and then a password, and then you are able to create reports at any time and track those reports through the platform.
Okay, so is there, I mean, is that fairly simple to find from the serial part of our page to?
So it is one of the tickers on our slider there, and that goes to the Action Center.
Okay,
Or you can just find it at indep.us/action center, and it'll take you right there.
okay. And then, since you have all these fancy tools now, is there a way that we can do more surveying of the residents or visitors to our website? Maybe develop different questions on a monthly basis, things that help us kind of drive more dialogue, if we can get some information, what people would like to know or see.
So Nextdoor has some very good polling opportunities where we can ask some basic questions and get some of those basic feedback responses. We do have the opportunity to connect some of the Survey Monkeys with our
Okay.
email
Yeah.
platform that we could then generate emails targeted on particular topics.
So we're using SurveyMonkey.
That is what we have used in the past. I think that we'll have to look at a more robust account to
Right.
meet more survey needs.
Okay. That's all I had. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is there any other questions or comments? Thank you, Meg. Brings us to our last presentation, State of the Emergency Proclamation Review. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Per our state of emergency, which was issued 7 months ago today, back on March 12th, the council has asked to review this every 30 days. Thought the study session was a good opportunity for you to have that dialogue. I will let you know that in accordance with our local emergency operations plan, we do have an incident command team. There's 3 of us here tonight to help answer any questions you might have. Of course, myself, our fire chief, Doug Short, and our acting health director, Christina Heinen, who I think goes out and checks temperatures occasionally, so she's right outside the door. But nevertheless, we don't have a formal presentation on this, more or less just wanted to give you the opportunity to dialogue and provide any additional thoughts or feedback you had on that.
Did you say she was? I didn't.
There she is.
There
Hello.
she is. I was going to say.
My apologies, I had stepped out to take care of an email and a phone call. My name is Christina Heinen, and I'm the Acting Health Director for the City of Independence. I know tonight we are doing a brief update on where we are, the state of emergency declaration. I know we are 7 months in, of course. We are in the region, we're actually seeing the number of cases hold steady right now, but our percent positivity is not coming down like we would like to. Right now for Eastern Jackson County, we're seeing right around 12% positivity. We'd really like that to be closer to 5%, of course. But our hospitals right now are doing well. Other places in the nation and in the state are not faring nearly as well, and the Midwest is actually seeing quite an increase. This last week, we actually saw as a world more than 1 million cases in just 3 days. So we are maybe seeing a second wave coming, but we are doing our best. We are working towards getting some COVID testing kits for the city, and hopefully starting this next week, fingers crossed, we'll be able to start doing some testing of our citizens here. We hope to do about 1,000 tests a week, with the idea, of course, that the more testing we do, the more we can contain the virus and keep it from spreading, and hopefully then move forward. Any questions? I know
Any
there's a lot.
questions or comments from council?
I do.
Yes.
Where are we? You're giving us information, and it's more county-driven than it is our city. We can't seem to get city-related information, because I'm not real impressed with the county's effort in all of this and their recording. I'm more concerned about our city, our municipality, where we're at, and every time I've reached out and asked, it seems like we can't, I can't get any response, but then I can find it in the media. They announce it. So why is it that you're having a problem getting the information regarding Independence from the county?
So I can't speak to why the county doesn't necessarily have some of the information that they had earlier. I'm not the county, and we have a meeting with them every other week to discuss information. What I can tell you is that I'm very happy to know that when we start our own testing, that the data will be given to the city, that we'll have access to some of those raw data, some of those raw numbers that we really want.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will have fewer issues there. When we have talked to the county, some of the issues they have spoken about is, the state, I know, made the news this last week because they have reported additional issues with their dashboard, and that they possibly over-reported some numbers this last week. They're having some issues with the reporting, and my understanding is there's a change in software that they did this last summer. The county did the same thing, and that some of the software and the data is not matching up the way it should.
Right.
I wish there was an easier or better answer, but unfortunately, not being right there in the weeds with them,
Yeah.
I cannot tell you what that is.
I think you're in an awkward position to try to serve your community and with information that's given, and we see time and time again that the information that's given to us gets revised or it's not accurate. Even when my household, we experienced one case of COVID and we all went and got tested, I asked, well, there was only one place to go, that was CVS, and to which I've been tested twice, negative, all in the household except the one. And And every time I asked, what is the accuracy percentage, you know what I was told? I have no idea.
So it depends on the test, and it depends on who the manufacturer it is. Saliva-based tests range anywhere from 90% to 99%. If you're doing the nasal swab that goes all the way up, it has a closer to 97 to 99% accuracy. Rapid tests, which are really popular right now, their accuracy is only closer to about 50 to 60%. So they're not the preferred method, but the good news is it's more likely to give you a false negative than it ever would to give you a false positive. So if you test positive, even with the rapid test, we're pretty sure you're positive. We just want to do a follow-up test to be sure.
Sure. Do you think the county is serving us well? Honest, and I want you to be honest. I don't want you to just give us what you think we want to hear.
The City of Independence and our staff, we are anxious to be able to do more. We have a lot of staff who are ready and willing. We are used to, and we know our city, we know its inhabitants, we know where to go and where the best places are. In all honesty, we would feel better served to be the ones serving our citizens and to be able to give that data in those reports. We have those relationships that the county just has not had a chance to form since the transition from our health department. They just have never developed those relationships and don't have the same feel.
And when you've reached out to the hospitals, are you getting, I mean, are we being told what the ventilator situation is directly related to COVID? How many deaths we're seeing directly related to COVID? Or is it just these are COVID deaths and this is a COVID situation?
CenterPoint is really good. We have some good members from CenterPoint, good representatives who not only participate on our stakeholder calls, but we have a member who's a member of our Board of Health. They are quite frank with the numbers. Now, as part of the HCA hospital system, due to isolation needs, all of CenterPoint's COVID patients end up being transferred to research, which is outside. And I don't have that same relationship with the research, so I have to depend on those relationships we have with CenterPoint. But they are very frank with the numbers they have. That being said, of course, not every single patient that goes to CenterPoint or is transferred to research is an Independence resident. And that sort of information is information they can't give us.
Right. But one of the doctors on our health advisory team, right?
Yes.
Doesn't he work out of research?
No, he works out of CenterPoint. He is the chief medical officer for CenterPoint.
Okay. So one of the meetings I was listening to, he said someone comes in with what they believe to be a COVID symptoms, they send them home.
Yes.
So we all get to go home and sit and lock ourselves in the house for 14 days and with no medication, and we just kind of go through the motions of it unless we're really bad, and we kind of know who, what the senior community is our greatest risk category. I understand that, and I think 210 days in, we all know what we're supposed to do. 10 days after the first signs of exposure. I mean, the county calls and we do all this. I'm wondering, are we at a place where we can start opening up our city at some point? Because I'm looking at our dashboard, we spent $529,742 on social distancing costs. This thing's getting expensive.
Yes.
And I'm concerned about that. And I would like to have people's ability, we talked about the other night, civil rights. I'd like to see people be able to go to church again. I don't hear anybody too concerned that churches are closed down. We have the right to exercise our religion, right? And that means movement. We go and we take communion and we worship and we do the things that we do. And without fear of having a pastor hauled off in handcuffs. I'm getting to a point now where I think we understand what our protocol and procedures are. That's just me. I just don't want to continue a path that we're on where we're really violating civil liberties with our mandates, because this is not a law. Our state is a pro-choice mass state. You know, you can or you don't have to. They leave it up to us. I'm not impressed with the county. I think you've done a fantastic job giving us information. I'm wondering at what point can we be responsible to ourselves?
Well, to answer your question, I mean, in all honesty, right now, we are under the county's mandates, so we have to obey what the county says we need to do.
Right.
I mean, talking to our Board of Health, I mean, they are comprised of 10 very intelligent individuals who come from all walks of life. They're recommending no change right now, just watching for that second wave. I hope that there is no real second wave, is my honest answer. I hope that everything gets better. When talking to staff and when talking to citizens, I would wish that all of them were as educated as you, because not all of them recognize, you know, the need for social distancing, mask wearing, or any of the other things that they need to do and how long to quarantine. Many haven't been tested and aren't sure where to go.
Right.
You know, a lot of it is going to be education, a lot of it's going to take time. I want it to be over too, but I don't see us there yet.
I understand, but we're entering into the flu season.
Yes.
How are we gonna know what's flu? If you just send me home. I lock myself in a room and I stay there for 14 days. How do I know if it's a flu? If I'm testing, that's fine, but people with symptoms, not everybody's testing, you know that. If they feel like they have symptoms, you know, you wake up with a headache, oh my gosh, I got the plague now, I need to lock myself. That's what, people are worried. They've been so, this has been so ingrained. I think we're gonna see a spike too, because we got the flu season, we got cold season coming, the change of weather.
Well, and the hope.
How much, I'm just gonna say, how much longer does government expect our economy to withstand this? And how much faith do we have when government comes to us and says, we know how to take care of you better than you do?
Well, and other nations have seen that testing and tracking, that system works to get places opened up faster, to allow them to stay opened up. If we can identify where cases are, and if we can isolate them,
Yeah.
we can get back to where we need to be faster. It's one of the goals, and that's why we have some of the CARES Act money, and that's why we've been working so hard to get these contracts into place and make sure that that testing is available. I would hope that there's more testing everywhere, and I would hope more people are being tested. I can't control every organization out there, so I can't, say who needs to be tested and when, but we're gonna try our best to get as many tests out there as quickly as possible and see if we can get to that point. Other nations have done a great job doing it, and it's the method that they followed. We should do the same.
Right, and there are nations that have taken a whole different approach, and they're doing just
Correct.
fine. So we can go both ways on this, right? We can talk about it, but I didn't mean to put you on the hot spot. I wanted our residents to hear what your job and your responsibility is. I think you've done a great job. A couple of weeks ago, we were ready to throw everybody in the county in jail because we thought that they were being irresponsible with property taxes, and so out of one side of our mouth, we're going, dang county, but in this, we go, yeah, let's just follow in lockstep with them, and I'm just not impressed with either side. And at some point, our economy's gonna have to be released to grow again and to protect property, which is part of the reason why property values in the state of emergency in their charter. There's a responsibility both ways. People are starting to lose homes, they're starting to lose cars. I read today, and I was sharing with a couple other council members, that we're just over 20% of Americans are ready to run out of money by the election. This is a serious issue.
Yes.
I know we don't test the homeless for COVID.
We do, to some extent. I mean, the clinics that are set up right now, and I shouldn't say we, because I'm not the county, I'm not CVS, I'm none of those, but they absolutely, they're free of charge. You can come. There's, for this, the clinics
Yeah.
the county does, and for ours, there's not going to be a charge. There's not going to be, any way that they don't need to be tested. And if we need to be proactive and out there, one of the things we plan on doing is looking to see where some of our numbers are the highest. I provide you guys with those zip codes of where we have some really high numbers. We want to go out there, we want to focus in those areas, and we want to go to essentially where the people are. So if we go directly to apartment complexes, directly to laundromats, wherever they will have us, we want to go to some of those lines where they are giving out food boxes and offer free tests right there. And since they're saliva-based tests that we're looking at, they're ones that shouldn't be as scary for a lot of people just to go ahead and do while they're waiting in line anyway, and get us some of those good numbers.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I would like to see more of it, obviously, but at some point, we got to balance property and life. We just have to. So that's all I have. I'm sorry I took up a lot of your
you're fine.
time. Appreciate you answering the questions for me.
Not an issue.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Is there anything else from the council tonight?
I just wanted to say thanks to Jason and Chris and IT for staying on top of that big project we've got going, long overdue project. Keep that up, fellas, and you'll have a bunch of new best friends up here.
All right, will do.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro, are we, Mr. City Manager, are we supposed to, on the state of emergency, we said we'd review it. Are we going to have a discussion on the language? We all content with the language? We think there needs to be any change? Is this the time to do it? What's our procedure here?
Yeah, I would say the council has a couple of options. You could dialogue tonight and, by consensus, if you wanted to provide any, direction or feedback. I know at the conclusion of our meeting last week, Council Member DeLucy asked for a resolution to be added at the next meeting around boards and commissions and when they're meeting. So if there's any other feedback in line with that, either that dialogue could happen here, or, we have plenty of time between now and next week, and we're not beholden to next week. This could certainly be dialogued about or discussed at any time.
Well, I'm open to whatever you all think, but I mean, I think it'd be a good thing for us to consider the current proclamation. If we want to make any changes, adjustments, is that something that we should talk about in council?
Certainly, yes.
Should we can we put it on the agenda for a discussion? I don't know. Is there some way to do that?
Typically, I mean, we're not beholden one way or another, but typically the study session has kind of been the format to have that discussion. But, I think the council meeting, if you feel that your meeting, if you want to add something to that, you could as well.
Well, I would like to have the input of the council if we're just going to continue to go along this line, or if we're going to remove some of the language about the utility shut-offs and things like that, that I think we probably should at least have a vote on or discuss if we want to continue that type of language.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem? Nope. Sure. Thank you. Are you suggesting that we put the resolution back on? Was that what I was hearing?
I don't,
For
was this
discussion.
ever, Councilman, was this ever a resolution, or was it just the mayor's proclamation that we were just going to review? Did we,
Are you talking about this? No.
in terms of the state of emergency?
Or the
that's what I was talking about.
proclamation?
If
Are
we're-
you wanting to review that? I wasn't understanding what you.
No, I was saying that the purpose of tonight was to review the language if we wanted to continue to endorse the language of the proclamation, whether it be about the utilities being shut off, or if we wanted to go dive deeper into it.
I'm either way, on
You're either-
whatever
I
you
mean,
like
Are you
to do.
okay with the language on it? I mean, I would like to see us get away from threatening
If you have some
businesses.
proposals, absolutely. I mean, I'll be
Well-
willing to review the language.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And sorry to interject there, the fire chief Short did remind me that with the state of emergency proclamation, there's probably two different things we should talk about. The proclamation itself is really important to the council because that ties us to our ability to get federal assistance down the road. We know we are in this declared state of emergency, and as long as we're in that, our costs can be submitted for several years for reimbursement. Some of those other policy things, like I know Councilmember Steinmeier just mentioned the utility shut-off things, that found its way into the state of emergency, but perhaps that's something that we should dialogue about and then figure out some of those. The council should be setting those policy things, and we should have that dialogue.
So let's be clear about that. I'm sorry, were you finished?
Oh, I am, sir. Thank
Were
you.
you finished? I'm sorry. Let's be clear about this. When I hear you say that, it's like, we're going to continue this lockdown for federal money. That's not what we're doing this for.
Well,
correct?
the lockdown is really coming from the county. They're the ones that have set the guidelines about the bars, the restaurants, the entertainment centers, et cetera.
Right.
We have declared a state of emergency, which one of the primary benefits of that is allowing us that the costs we're incurring that will be eligible for reimbursement as long as we are still in that period of time allows us to turn those into the federal government eventually.
It's language that scares me a little bit, Mr. City Manager, that we're saying, yeah, we're going to stay in this phase, continue these things while businesses close. I just had another business close, another one that's been closed that I just found out about. We're losing businesses. And I would hate to hear us say we're going to stay in this phase and do our thing and so that we can get federal money. It's just, it's alarming to me. I hope that's not our motive. We've got to start looking at the ways of opening our economy back up, or we're going to see loss of homes, loss of cars. We're already seeing it, but it's going to multiply.
One
At some
thing,
point, we'll have to we'll have to furlough, we'll have to do all kinds of things to stay afloat.
certainly, and just to make you aware of some of your options, one of the things, and I can't promise this is a magic elixir by any stretch, but some of your peer cities in Jackson County have passed a resolution or a proclamation, if you will, that they are sending the council's messaging to the county about their displeasure with some of these ongoing restrictions. I know, I believe the city of Green Valley, I believe the city of Blue Springs have both adopted some sort of resolution that they have then, forwarded onto the county with some messaging in there. That is something the council could consider as far as those public health restrictions go, if you would like to communicate that.
Well, I think it'd be good if we can all just email and communicate some ideas and put together a resolution to send a message to the county. 'Cause quite honestly, I'm sick of them.
I would be
That's
happy
just
to
me.
get a copy of the resolutions that were passed by those other cities and share those with the council this week and get additional feedback about going down that path if you'd like.
That'd be extremely helpful. Mr.
Certainly.
City Manager. Any information you can feed back to us, and then I think we can come up with something.
Oh, I'd be pleased to, absolutely.
Yeah, and if I'm wrong, you guys tell me too, so just give me the input. I want to see us take care of our people, so thank you.
Anything else from the council? Mr. City Manager,
Nothing else tonight.
meeting's adjourned.